Two playoff contenders are shockingly sitting at 0-2. Can a tanking team collapse? And a day of epic endings and why I ate my feelings. All that and more because it's time for Sunday Night Blitz. Welcome to Sunday Night Blitz. He's Frank Schwab. I'm Jason Fitz. Frank, look, we've got a lot to get into over the course of tonight, but I just want to start by apologizing because I ate a lot of donuts. So I've been on a sugar high. Like, I ate my feelings today. It wasn't a good day for me. I ate an entire box of donuts. So I usually, I'm on one, buddy, but like, I just want you to know that it's going to be a night for me and you, bud.
I'm guessing it was Raiders related. So I'm guessing that you were starting off celebratory donuts, right? Hey, Devontae Adams, 7th zip. Let's eat some donuts. And then, by the time it's 38-10, I believe that was, you're probably through the whole box.
Yeah. You know what? That's the thing, though. Like, it's a win-win. Either my favorite football team wins or I eat a bunch of double chocolate donuts. Either way, I feel like today felt like a chaotic day, though. Like, as we get into everything, we'll get to every single game, Frank. But this felt like one of those games. I was thinking of you because last week we watched these games, right? We're hanging out. We're watching these games together. And we talked about the fact that in the NFL, over the last couple of years, it feels like 3 or 4 plays is the difference between win and lose every single week. And we saw more of that. Even when games looked like at one point they were out of control, it seems like everything came back. And by the end, 3 or 4 plays is the difference between win or lose. That's why you can't walk away. You can't turn a game off. You just don't know how it's going to go at all.
Yeah, and I know we're going to get to the Sunday night game. And that was the deal with the Sunday night. Or like, I write this game story for all the primetime games for Yahoo Sports. And I was on cruise control at halftime. I thought Dolphins were running away with this. And when Raheem Mostert broke that touchdown in the fourth quarter, I'm like, okay, finally the Patriots going to go away. But you're right. Comes down to 3 or 4 plays. A few inches is that strange lateral play to Cole Strange gets called short of the first down. But you're absolutely right. The margin of error in the NFL just keeps shrinking and shrinking to the point where if you're making one bad coaching decision, if you have a quarterback who's going to make 2-3 big mistakes a game or 2-3 big plays a game, that's all it takes. We'll get to the Jaguars. Look at the Jaguars. How many balls did Trevor Lawrence airmail in the end zone? That if he hits one of those, it's a completely different game. So you're right. It's every game's close. That's the way the league is set up. That's the way the league wants it to be. They want the difference between number 1 and number 32 to not be that great, and I think they've accomplished that.
You've got me thinking about this right now because it only speaks to why I've thought for all these years, suddenly we're infatuated. You got to have the next Mahomes. As you talk, I start thinking about the fact that maybe it's not about having the next Mahomes because certainly that's almost impossible, but it is having the next person with Mahomes-like traits that can make 3 or 4 plays that are just so completely off schedule that it saves your ass through the course of a game. Because when you've got that guy that can figure out how to make that play, it is amazing what an electric difference it can make. Like, let's look at the Sunday night game because obviously we're coming fresh off of that. All eyes were going to be on could Miami replicate the explosiveness against Bill Belichick because that's supposed to be impossible, right? And I'm watching Tua do what Tua's doing, and I'm thinking, man, this guy just the way he plays the way he plays right now is the way you want your quarterback to play. He can make the throws he has to make, but he can also go completely off schedule and find weird ways to get you first downs.
Yeah, and I started this conversation last week when we were in Vegas together, just saying Tua's elite. Like, we have to wrap our heads around that and just get rid of whatever things you had against him after year 2. Year 3, year 4, he has been great. He was really, really good again tonight, especially first half. He was dealing. Now, I think they pulled back a little bit in the second half. The Patriots made some adjustments. They definitely took Tyreek Hill out of the game. Credit to them. The Patriots still have a fantastic defense. They have a all-time great defensive coach, and Tua still got the job done. They win again. Look, since the beginning of last year, the Dolphins have played 13 games in which Tua started and finished. They're 10-3 in those games. This is an elite team. That's a Super Bowl contender. And you're right, it came down to a few plays, but Tua made those plays. And what I really dislike, some of the problem I have with Tua, and people are going to get on him for underthrowing that interception to Tyreek, right? Oh, Justin Herbert would have made that play, or this guy would have made that play, that guy would have made that play. Tua is incredibly accurate. He has anticipation like almost nobody else in the NFL, and he just doesn't make a lot of mistakes like that. These are all quarterbacking skills too. When we talk about quarterback skills, it's not just can you throw the ball 75 yards downfield. It is, Are you accurate? Can you put the ball right where Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle need it? It's do you get the team into the right calls? Do you get the ball out to where it needs to be to your playmakers? Tua does all these things at an incredible level. And yeah, he didn't have a big second half in this game, but I thought he was really the difference in this game because of how well he played in the first half.
Well, the reason that you are the NFL expert here is because you want to give credit for. I ain't giving credit for taking away Tyreek. I mean, I've decided I'm like the kiss of death this year for fantasy football. Like it's just the way it's going to go on Fantasy Football Live. I had the first pick. I took Tyreek in that draft, and I was weirdly confident. I was like, I know it's a Bill defense, but I still think Tyreek's going to. No, I'm going to get my ass kicked in that this week. The fact that Tyreek didn't have the same explosive numbers, but Miami still felt like they were explosive from anywhere, everywhere, is why right now, if you ask me today who the best team in the AFC is after 2 games, it's Miami. I mean, I'm all in on the Dolphins right now being able to score with anybody. We know that. Being able to get tough yards. They've done that in both games when they've needed, like the concept is, hey, they don't run the football well, right? That's what we at least think. Well, Mike McDaniel doesn't run the football particularly a ton, but he runs it particularly efficiently, and Mostert had a good game here. Like Miami can get the tough yards when they need. They can get the tough stops when they need them. And their quarterback, when he's playing, is smarter than anybody when it comes to how he processes this game. Like I feel like Miami at this point is showing all of us that they are clearly a Super Bowl contender. I know it's only 2 weeks, but through 2 weeks, they've given us Super Bowl sort of zhuzh. I don't know if that's a phrase, Frank. We're going to make it Super Bowl zhuzh.
I'll give it to you. Why not? We'll make that up here on the spot. But I think the thing that impressed me most as far as talking about the Dolphins as a Super Bowl contender, and they are a Super Bowl contender as long as Tua stays healthy. We're going to have to repeat that phrase a million times throughout the course of his career. Was this week the defense showed up. Last week I was a little shaky on their defense, obviously. They gave up a ton of points to Justin Herbert and the Chargers. They found a way to win. Tua carried them 466 yards. In this game, the Dolphins defense was fantastic. Yeah, they gave up a little bit in the second half. I think they let down a little bit when they got a couple of big leads. But overall, they were getting pressure on Mac Jones. They were defending really, really well. This is a Patriots offense that was pretty good against the Eagles last week, even in a loss. The Dolphins really shut them down. It gives me hope that they're really picking up this Vic Fangio scheme, that they're going to be good on both sides of the ball going forward. Because like you said, as long as Tua's in the lineup, they're going to score. They can produce explosive plays like nobody else in the league. This is a really good football team. And they have been since last year. The only thing that really held them back last year was Tua got hurt. And you hope that doesn't happen again. There's really no way to predict it. We all hope Tua just stays healthy. And I hope he stays healthy just because I want to see the ceiling of this Dolphins team.
I refuse to allow this level of positivity to continue. So let's do a little bit of panic meter fun here because it kind of leads us to the other side of this game. You mentioned New England's offense. 2 weeks in a row, New England's been close enough to beat 2 of the better teams in the NFL, right? So maybe the sky's not falling. Like I particularly have said loudly that I'm out on the Patriots. I'm out on Mac Jones. I don't think any of this is good enough. You've made a good point that their roster isn't as talented, but it speaks to how good their coaching is going to be. But Frank, I watched this feeling like this was a lot like last week, dude. Like it felt to me a lot like, all right, you're close enough, but you don't quite get it done. And now, if you're the Patriots, you're sitting at 0-2. I don't know. I think Foxborough fans might be freaking out. I just came out with that on the top of my head, all that alliteration.
Definitely.
So,
and,
you're welcome.
We talked about, making 3 or 4 plays to turn a game. Well, they don't have enough blue chip guys to make those plays. You could have the greatest coach of all time, and Bill Belichick. You can have a lot of really, really solid players to run his schemes. But sometimes you just need a Tyreek Hill to make a play and turn the tide of a game. And they just haven't had that yet. And that's where we see the Patriots have not played bad in 2 weeks, really. I thought they all played Eagles last week, but they got behind the 8 ball at the turnovers. I didn't think they played particularly bad tonight in the second half. They had a shot to win the game or at least tied at the end, but yet they're 0-2 with 2 home losses. And it's just hard in the NFL when you don't have the horses. Bill Belichick has had those guys before, the Mosses, the Gronk, Brady. Of course, this team doesn't have those blue chip guys. Ramondre's a good player. Judon's a very, very good player. But when you need a guy to really turn a game around, it's been hard for them, and that's why they're at 0-2.
It makes me think of something my buddy John McClain used to write for the Houston Chronicle for years. And John, a great mentor, great friend for me. And I was talking to John about rosters one day. And he said, he was talking about my beloved Raiders and why they suck. But one thing John said is like, sometimes you just got to look at your favorite team and you got to ask yourself, how many players on this team right now would be starting on a playoff caliber roster, consistently starting.
Mm.
And ever since we talked about that last week with the Patriots, really thinking about that as I was watching tonight, the question was how many of these guys from the Patriots roster, if they were on the Dolphins, would actually be starting today? And the answer is not many. So it speaks, and that's Belichick's fault, as I've said loudly. That's, Belichick
Yep.
is the
Belichick's
one
the
that picks
GM.
the
Yep.
ingredients. So it is his fault, but it doesn't change the fact that the Patriots feel, I don't know, outmatched. I'm not going to panic on them yet because 0-2 against two quality opponents. I don't know what the hell you expected. Like, it just feels like should be, if you're a Patriots fan, you should have expected a slow start, right?
Yeah, but I mean, the panic has to be there just because, again, 2 home games, you're 0-2. I mean, the history's a history. Less than 10% of 0-2 teams make the playoffs. It's a really tough hole to dig out of, especially in a really deep AFC.
I'm not shocked that they're 0-2. I am shocked that the Bengals are 0-2. And maybe it's just because, like, frankly, I had such high expectations. But Baltimore and Cincinnati, we had a lot of questions coming into this one. I thought it was a great prove-it game, I said this week, for both offenses to show whether Lamar could really open up and to show if, Burrow was going to get the timing right. Burrow just looks out of sync, man. Like, it didn't look good, and then an injury at the end of the game, we'll see. But how much are you panicking right now? Because, like, if I'm a Bengals fan, I am full. I say it all the time. I'm Kermit the Frog in it. I'm running around, flopping my hands in the air, going all over the place. I'm scared.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Yeah. Somebody pointed us out that, this year's, I think it was Charles McDonald, our colleague, that this year's 0-2 for the Bengals just seems different than last year. Last year was kind of like, okay, this is a slow start, but I'll get it going. This year, look, this game, the way I bet games, I take the ugliest teams from week 1 and I bet them in week 2, right? The Bengals were awful in week 1. And I'm like, the Bengals are going to get right. They're a talented team. They're at home. The Ravens had, I believe, 4 key injuries in this game. Starters, good starters who were out of the lineup. Ronnie Stanley, Linderbaum, Dobbins, Marcus Williams. And the Bengals are going to kill them. The Bengals are just going to get right. They're going to roll. Burrow's going to look awesome. And then you look up at halftime, and he had like 43 yards. It's like, is this Joe Burrow, the highest paid player in NFL history? What is going on? He got a little bit warm in the second half, but it never seemed like they were going to win that game, ever. The Ravens just seemed like a better team. John Harbaugh's awesome. Lamar just played his game. This wasn't like MVP Monday night 6 touchdowns Lamar. This was just Lamar making plays all over the field when he had to. And the Ravens come out of this game and they win, and you're like, you're watching Joe Burrow limp to the middle of the field at the end of the game, limp badly to the end of the field. And you're like, I don't know if this is going to turn around that easily for the Bengals. They're a talented team. They have a pedigree in the last couple of years, deep playoff runs. This is going to be a tougher hole to get out of than it was last year.
I was a little stunned because it felt like there were some balls that Jamar Chase last year came up with, right? And I'm not saying this is on Jamar Chase. It's just like better to be lucky than good. I say it all the time. Last year, it felt like there were some unbelievable week after week. Oh my God, how the hell did he catch that, right? Today, it felt like the same opportunities. It's just couldn't come down with the ball. Like, and again, I'm not faulting him for it, but it's like some years the football gods look down and they're like, yes, this is your year. You may have all the blessings. And some years the football gods look down on the field and they're like, not you, right? Like this felt like that, not you, fat Jesus moment. Like it just isn't clicking for Cincinnati. And I look over at Baltimore, and frankly, I still don't think that their offense has clicked the way it's going to. Like they're still a little bit like it's good. It's getting there. It's a work in progress. So for a work in progress offense to go in there and get the win, I mean, if I'm Cincinnati, I'm in full panic mode. Like Baltimore's got to feel pretty good. Cincinnati's got to be wondering what makes things get right. And I don't know if Burrow misses any extended time, then we're going to start asking ourselves, I think, is this a lost season for Cincinnati?
Absolutely. If they got to sit Burrow for a while, and maybe Jamar Chase was right when he's like, I don't want to see Joe in week 1. I want him to get right. Well, he's not right. And what do you do? You can't, if you're 2-0, you could maybe say, okay, well, let's sit Burrow for a while. We'll try to survive. You're 0-2. You get to 0-3, 0-4. You're not getting out of that hole. Jamar Chase has like 70 yards this season. Like that was a quarter for him sometimes last year. He was just balling out of his mind. It's just something is off. Something is off with this Bengals team. They looked uncomfortable all game. And you thought week 1, it was like, okay, bad weather. Jim Schwartz had a really good game plan. The Browns played well. But this is 2 weeks in a row. And you get too far behind in the NFL, you're not digging out of it. I'm with you. Panic meter is pretty high for me just because not only is it 0-2, and we just talked about, less than 10% of teams making it the playoffs, but they played probably the toughest division of football. it's not going to be easy for them to get out of this, especially with Burrow limping like he is. We'll see. We'll see all the medical reports. We'll see if he's got to sit. We'll see how he looks next week. But man, I'm with you. I think this is a time to push a panic button, even at 0-2, just because it's hard to see them digging out of this hole with everything looking off.
And even if Burrow comes back, like it's obvious at this point the calf's going to be an issue this year, right? Like
I can't see him you don't get healthy in the NFL. Like, let's just sit. And Joe Burrow can't sit. They're not going to win games without him. Like, what do you do? It's a tough spot for them to be in.
Yeah, the calf can get to good enough, but it ain't going to get to good.
Right.
Like there's a difference. So I've got a nickname for a team that's on the panic meter. I'm gonna call them the grocery store team for the rest of the year because I don't know about you, but like I go to the grocery store, like I'm super formulaic when I go to the grocery store. Same, like I go down the same aisles. I buy the same things. I don't need to make a list. I buy the same things all the time. Like I know exactly what I'm doing. But here's the thing we all know. You spend like hundreds of dollars at the grocery store. You get home and 2 hours later, you open the fridge and you're like, man, I don't have anything to eat. Like inevitably, that's what happens. You just spent. So I'm calling the Bears the grocery store team because they spent like $90 million this offseason. They open the fridge. They're in the middle of they're 2 weeks in on this one. They're like, damn, man, I like spent all that money. Don't have anything to eat. The Bears 0-2. And it's not just that they lost. It's how they look in the loss. It's that Justin Fields just doesn't look right. It's that the offensive play calling is being questioned by every Twitter GM and coach in the world, right? Like the hot seat is inevitable in Chicago right now. I don't know if I'm a Bears fan. I don't know where I find hope right now. I'm absolutely panicked.
Yeah, at 2 games of the season, and they just look lost. And there's a ton of questions. Like you said, it's not just, okay, you lost some games. The Patriots, they lost some games. Well, they were really competitive against 2 quality teams. I don't even know if the Bears have really played a quality team. As much as I like the Packers, they didn't look great today, collapsed in the fourth quarter. I don't think Tampa Bay, even though they're 2-0, I don't think they're very good. But yet the Bears really haven't been competitive. They did have a shot, and once again, Justin Fields just can't get it done with the chips on the line in the final 2 minutes. And sometimes that's unfair, but man, that's what a franchise quarterback has to be. That's when you got to come up big. And he just time after time does not come up big in those situations. And you do have to start questioning, is Justin Fields the guy? I liked him coming out of Ohio State. I love the move to go up and get him. Love some of the things he did last year. But I expected to see a step forward this year, and it just hasn't happened. It is not there. The Bears are a bad football team. We were reminded, that this was a team that earned the number 1 pick in the NFL draft a year ago. There was a reason for that. They're a bad football team. And like you said, they went out and made a lot of moves, but didn't really make their team better. DJ Moore's good. Like, of course he's good for them, but it's not like the Bears. I haven't seen any steps forward from them at all, especially Justin Fields. And like you kind of alluded to, like, you get to 0-3, 0-4. Chicago's not going to be very happy with Matt Eberflus, and I don't know how long he survives unless they get a couple wins here, because it seems like all Chicago's just completely out. Like they're just the skies fall, it gets over, and they might be right. It might be that this is just unfixable this season.
I do want to give a little love though to the other side of it, because like you're right, Chicago loses. There are a lot of people that thought Tampa Bay might be in that, collapse for Caleb sort of category, right? And now Baker Mayfield's actually playing pretty smart, controlled football. Like, I'm not saying he's out here being a world beater, but he's playing well enough for them to win. Tampa Bay sitting at 2-0. They feel like one of those teams that they feel like a mirage. I'm not going to go out there and suddenly start betting the bank account on the Buccaneers for the rest of the year. But they got to 2-0. And frankly, one of the quiet surprises is that Baker has looked like he's baking. I don't know. I would like cooking. I don't know. I was trying to make some sort of like he's making cake. I don't know. But he's out there doing the thing, right?
Sometimes the preseason matters. If Baker was 15 or 16 in the preseason, you're like, maybe. And then I think the best thing Baker Mayfield has done has been like scan the field and see, okay, where's number 13 on my team? Mike, okay, there you are, Mike Evans. Let's get you the ball because you're just going to make things happen. He was awesome today. You're reminded Mike Evans going to Hall of Fame someday. He's been great. And I don't know what to make of the Buccaneers. You're right. They do seem like a fraud at 2-0. I don't think they're going 11-6 or anything like that, but they also are in the NFC South. So why can't they keep this going? And Baker, look, this was Baker's last shot. If he failed this year, and he still might, a long way to go. If Baker failed this year, he was not getting a starting job again. This was it. Like he signed for nothing basically as far as the quarterback goes because he wanted a chance to restart his career. And he's doing it. He may not ever be the guy we thought he might be when he was a first overall pick, Heisman winner, all this. He's playing pretty good football. And he was a difference in this game as far as he was better than Justin Fields. period. Like, he was a better quarterback, and that's why the Buccaneers won. They, 2-0 is 2-0, man. And you gotta tip your cap to them. Well, 0-2 is 0-2, and the Bears, again, are just going nowhere. I don't see much hope for them.
I need to tip my cap to you, by the way, because if anybody's listened to this show over the course of the last few weeks, one of the few disagreements we've had. We got into a raging debate. It was just shy of a UFC fight over whether or not the Titans were going to be any good. And I was out here like foghorn leghorn, like puffing my chest out and like doing the whole damn thing. The Titans, I can't decide if the Titans are actually any good. You might be right. The Titans might not be any good. I don't know. But today, Ryan Tannehill was spectacular, right? And I am stunned by it. I am stunned that at this point we saw one version of Ryan Tannehill week one. I do this weekly interview with the ESPN radio station out in Nashville. And after week one, the host was asking me if the Titans should just bench him and give up on the whole thing. And then Tannehill goes out and has a career day in efficiency. The Titans get an overtime shocking win over the Chargers. And the Chargers, like every year we do this, every year, man, every year it's like, oh, the Chargers go to the Super Bowl. And every year the Chargers find some new way to, what it up. I almost said the wrong word there. And here the Chargers sit at 0-2, and I'm shook it. I have no idea what the hell's going on there.
Yeah, and we'll see who's right about the Titans between me and you. We'll see where the season goes. But I will say this, that I did not thankfully fall for the Chargers this year. Every year I would do it too. I said I rehabbed. I got right. I made sure that this year I was not going to look at that roster and say, wow, look at all the stars. They're a Super Bowl contender. They're going to be didn't do it. Said, nope, don't fall for it. Don't get involved with the Chargers this year. And I think that's going to be right. They just blew this game. They absolutely blew it. They should have won. They're the better team. But again, they're the Chargers. And, I started thinking about them. We're talking about panic meter a little bit. All right, they play at the Vikings next week. Not easy. The Vikings got a little bit of extra rest. Then they play your Raiders. Well, I'll leave that alone. Not gonna pick any scabs with you here. But after that, they play the Cowboys. And after that, they play at the Chiefs. This team could be 1-5 in a hurry. And I don't think Brandon Staley is there anymore to see Game 7 if that happens. I mean, at this point, if you're the Chargers, I know their owners are cheap and they don't like to spend any money, and firing their coach right now would cost some money. But if you're the Chargers looking at 0-2, look at what Brandon Staley has done and not done with this team, you're saying this is, if they get to 1-5, which could seriously, or 2-4 even, how do you keep him? I think at that point, he might be the first coach fired.
How is it possible? I'm not even just talking about the quarterback position. How's it possible to waste that much talent?
Like, it's incredible. I didn't do it every year.
If we were playing Madden and you could go in and say, okay, I'm going to pick my team. Now, you might pick the Cowboys first. I think a lot of fans would go out and be like, I'll take the Cowboys as my first roster. The Chargers would be up there as the second or third roster. A lot of teams would want to pick. Players want just because they're that good top to bottom. And they don't put it together. And it doesn't make any sense. And I feel like Charlie Brown, like trying to kick the football. She moves it every time. I fall on my ass. Like, this happens to me. This year, I backed it down because most years I'm like, no, this is the year the Chargers supplant the Chiefs and somehow win the division. This year, I got smart and I was like, no, they're just a really strong wild card. No, I mean, they're 0-2. And it's weird because the AFC so far does not, record-wise, is not creating the level of, oh my God, you must be elite that I expected only 2 weeks in. So they have a little grace, but it's not just that they lost. It's that they've lost in 2 games where you just scratch your head and say, how? Like, they had Miami and they lost it. They had the Titans and they lost it. I just, Mike Vrabel, kudos to him, but this is an abject disaster for LA.
It's bad. And Again, why is it going to get better? Yeah, they got talent. Well, they've had talent for years. Like, that's not enough at some point. You look at this game and, Ryan Tannehill last week, we were there, watching that game together. We're just like, oh my God, Ryan Tannehill looks bad against the Saints. Like, bad. Like you talked about, like, do you just bench him and start over? And in this game, he was just dealing against the Chargers defense. And you're like, isn't Brandon Staley supposed to be a defensive coach? Like, that was his calling card, like with the Rams. Like, you're a defensive genius. You got Bosa and Mack and Derwin James. And, well, they stink. They just got torched by Tua for 466. They couldn't stop him when they needed to. And Ryan Tannehill beats you like that, especially in overtime. When the Chargers gave up the ball right away, it's like, okay, this game's over. Like, they're not stopping the Titans here. They're going to lose. This is the Chargers. Massive disappointment through 2 games. To me, maybe even the most disappointing team in the league.
you said something I want to go back to here, because when you are a head coach and you are failing at the thing that you were considered to be
Yep.
great at to get you the job in the first place, that's the unforgivable sin. Like, that's where everybody gives up. If you're an offensive guru and your offense stinks,
Nathaniel
it just
Hackett.
doesn't work.
You
Yep,
know?
1,000%. Yeah.
Right.
By the way, Nathaniel Hackett was 1-1 in his first 2 games. That brings us to Sean Payton, who's 0-2. You said, look at that.
Oh, that's
look at that.
a segue. Look at that.
Just got us right there. The Denver Broncos 0-2. I'm not surprised by this, and you're not surprised to hear me say this, because I told you I thought that the Broncos were going to be just hot garbage this year. Unfortunately, I think Sean Payton will get it turned around. It's going to take time. It's going to take time to implement who he is. But this game was weird, man. It was the best and worst of Russ. Like, early on, the way Russ was playing, it looked like the Broncos were going to go out there and just annihilate Washington. Washington had no answer. To Sam Howell's credit, he stayed calm, didn't press too much. They utilized the weapons they have, and they end up getting a pretty convincing win over the Broncos. The Broncos sitting at 0-2 now. I feel like Denver should be, I don't know if they're in panic mode or if they just should go straight into tank mode.
It could be either. I can tell you, being in Denver, people are just, they're so beaten down by this. I had friends text me, 8 minutes left in the game. We just left the game. Why stay? We're not winning. And they almost did. By the way, can we talk real quick? Like, great Hail Mary. They catch it in the end zone. And then the 2-point conversion. Look, NFL referees love calling defensive pass interference. Almost like they're getting bonuses for it, right? Or some ticky-tack holding or whatever. And Cortland Sutton in the end zone on a 2-point conversion gets mugged. Like, it's not even close. The left arms around him, turn him around. It is textbook PI. And the refs are just like, man, we're getting out of here. We got to go home. No call. Let's leave. I cannot believe they did not call pass interference on that final 2-point conversion. If I'm a Broncos fan, I'm really upset about that. But I'm also upset that we're up 21-3 in this game and you can't close it out. Like, what's even going on at home? They always have had a great home field advantage in September as teams are getting in shape and all that, this high altitude. It's just a mess. And this is why I shouldn't tweet during the game, Fitz, because I'm like, there's some tweets out there. You can go find them pretty easy. Where I'm talking about, oh my God, Russ is back. He looks great. It was all Hackett's fault. Sam Howell looks terrible. Please stop holding the ball so long. And then it just flips in the second half. Russ kind of went back to being last year Russ, and he wasn't creating anything up until the Hail Mary. Sam Howell's awesome, I thought, in the second half. Like, he really, look, he's not a calm quarterback yet. He's really, really young, and you can see that. He holds the ball too long. He panics a little bit under pressure, but he makes plays. Like, he kept making plays. He kept coming at them. I thought this was really, really big win for the Commanders, just because, look, you're down on the road 21-3. You have this young quarterback. Nobody's going to fault you if you just kind of go away and lose. Sam Howell really wouldn't let them lose this game. Brian Robinson was awesome. I thought this was really big for the Commanders, what they're trying to do. And if I'm the Broncos, I don't even, like you said, I don't even know if it's a panic meter, because there's no panic anymore. It's just dread. It's just, we stink. Like, the Broncos fans are just so out on this team, and I don't blame them, because got their hopes up last year, got crushed. Coming to this year, like, okay, yeah, maybe Peyton can fix everything. Well, no, he hasn't. They're 0-2 with 2 home losses. It's probably gonna get better, but it's not gonna be good.
Growing up, did you call it a seesaw or a teeter-totter? Like, where, like,
seesaw all day.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, it was teeter-totter for me. I don't know why. Like, I don't know what that says about my childhood, but this was a teeter-totter game. It was a seesaw game, right? Like, you saw Denver go out to the big lead. You saw Washington just turn around and absolutely fire out, up by 11. Then, to your point, you see the big comeback at the end. It was interesting to see. I agree with you. I thought it was pass interference at the end. But if you're Denver, you're looking around and you're saying, man, you got to know. At some point, you just got to look in the mirror, figure out, are you going to be competitive as it stands with the best of the best? And I think we knew coming in the answer to that was going to be no. So now the Broncos are just going to have to figure out how to make chicken salad, right? For the rest of this year, out of chicken, you know what? They're going to have to make chicken salad. The panic meter is pretty strong right there. And you're right. I think it's a huge win for Washington. Okay, we're going to break down every single game, not from a panic meter standpoint, but we got a lot to get into, including maybe the hottest take of all. It's never too early to ask a very important question. Was the wrong quarterback selected at the top of the draft? We'll answer that and explain why coming up. Welcome back to Sunday Night Blitz. He's Frank Schwab. I'm Jason Fitz, hanging out with you tonight as we do every single Sunday to get you caught up on all the action. Got a lot we're going to get to, obviously, including a quarterback controversy. Never too early. We'll get to that. But one quarterback I wanted to get your thoughts on, Frank, because we were watching Green Bay week 1, right? And we were both impressed with Jordan Love week 1. So Jordan Love comes back against Atlanta. And Atlanta's this weird team to figure out. Are they going to use their weapons? Are they not going to use their weapons? We ended up getting a really good football game between these two teams where I thought Jordan Love still played with control. It still looked like he's going to be a very good quarterback. It looks like he knows what he's doing, which I didn't know if that would be the case. And Atlanta went out and let it be a Bijan breakthrough. All of a sudden, the Falcons get the 1-point win. Hell of a game.
Really good, yeah. And for a while there, you're like, this is the Jordan Love story. If they hold on to that win, we would have started this podcast talking about Jordan Love. I got 3 touchdowns, looked really good. Pass over the middle to the rookie Wicks for that touchdown was just a big boy throw. Like, it was a play. Like, wow, Jordan Love. But I will say this, like, you're up 24-12 and you lose. Well, you got to make some plays at the end, Jordan. This is where it separates guys. It's not, playing with a big lead against the Bears or anything like that. It's, hey, you just lost this big lead. What can you do now? Or can you keep us in this lead? And he couldn't do it. He did not make the big plays on the stretch. He's a young guy. No Watson, no Aaron Jones, no David Bakhtiari. I kind of thought this was a bad spot for the Packers anyway, but you get up 24-12, you got to win the game. Like, it's just the way it goes.
The no Aaron Jones thing is pretty significant in this one, obviously.
Yeah, because A.J. Dillon's just a guy.
Right. And Matt
like,
LaFleur wants to run the football. Like, it just wasn't going to be there for him. But I am a little surprised the counter side of it. Like, I saw a big lead and I thought, what, Desmond Ridder? Nah, you're done. Like, you're cooked. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Atlanta able to make the most and really did seem to come in with a better game plan on how to use their weapons. I've seen this become this whole like argument on Twitter, man. Like, okay, it's not just about fantasy football. We're not arguing just for the gambling and fantasy aspect of it. The argument is Bijan needs to be used if he's going to be Bijan, and he was in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. He looked great. I mean, my goodness. Like, I did not agree with them picking a running back 8th. But I knew they got a good running back, and some of the moves he makes is just like, whoa, like that is special. The stop and start is just phenomenal from him. Good win for the Falcons. Like, the schedule's going to get tougher. They're going to have to go on the road. We'll see what they got. But you're 2-0. You feel pretty good. It's not that I'm like super let down by the Packers because whatever, you're without probably your 3 best offensive players, and no big deal losing on the road. But the way they lost was disappointing. I would have liked to see a little bit more out of Jordan Love in the fourth quarter, but hey, these things happen in the NFL.
As we get to the next game, I got to ask you an important question. Do you have a particular like snack ritual when you're watching football, Frank? Is there a Frank Schwab snack ritual?
I will tell you this. It's maybe not my ritual, but the greatest thing in the world are peanut butter Oreos. Have you had these?
No, I haven't had peanut butter
Oreos. Oh my God.
Oreos.
It's Oreo with peanut butter filling.
Huh?
It's like instead of the cream filling, it's peanut butter.
Yeah.
It's literally the greatest thing in the world, dude. I probably caused you a heart attack or something because you're going to eat just packages of these. Like,
yeah, well, I got a weakness for sweets, like the inner fat kid in me that has a weakness. And I mentioned at the top of the show, I housed an entire box of Entman's double chocolate donuts and a case of diet root beer because I like balance. And that's an actual number, 10 donuts and 12 diet root beer, while I watched my beloved Raiders just get their asses kicked, by Buffalo. But I made a little money because while we were in Vegas at the end of the night, I like that 10-point number. It even moved down at one point to 8.5. I like that 10-point number, and I put some cash on Buffalo, and Buffalo did exactly what I thought they were going to do. We started off giving a lot of flowers to Miami, rightfully so. I think the Bills reminded you that Week 1 looked terrible. And that happened, right? There's no getting that off of. You don't get that stink off. Week 2 looked a lot closer to who the Bills are. I mean, when Josh Allen is playing mistake-free football, they're a difficult team to beat, and their offensive line and defensive line were both on a different level throughout the course of this game. It was a big statement win for Buffalo. Not that the Raiders are any good, but Buffalo needed to come out and sort of wipe that Monday night debacle off, and they did.
I had a lot of survivor picks on the Bills today, and it is 7-zip, and getting texts from Noah, who runs one of my pools, like, are you nervous? And I said no, but inside I was kind of like, what's going on with the Bills here? What? The Raiders look actually pretty feisty, and then it just fell apart. Like, the Bills became the Bills. They got a little pissed off, took control of that game. Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things, running around, making great plays. The Bills are really, really good. Like, they're going to be good. Look, you don't want to lose your opener in Week 1, especially to Zach Wilson, but it happens. Jets defense played out of their mind. I think the Bills are fine. They're going to be absolutely fine going forward. Still a Super Bowl contender.
I mean, Josh Jacobs averaged 2.5 yards per carry week 1. He finished this game with -3 yards on the ground. Like that's stunning inefficiency from, a running back that's just got paid wild amounts of money. I'm not putting it on him. I think there's a communication timing issue with the offensive line too. But if you want to talk like panic mode, like we were earlier, if Josh Jacobs can't get going, this is going to go off the rails quickly for the Raiders. Like -3 yards in a rush. It's unheard of. I don't remember the last time I saw anything like that. And at one point, I think Buffalo actually had more points than the Raiders had plays run in this game. Like, that's how ugly it was getting in the second half. So kudos to the Bills. Do you have any kind words of hope you want to offer me about my beloved? You want to find a positive?
I'll say this, like,
put lipstick on a pig?
Jimmy Garoppolo, he didn't play his best game today, but he still makes plays. I like Jimmy. I do. Like, I probably give him a little bit too hard of a time, and I shouldn't. He's a good quarterback. They'll be fine. They do got to get Jacobs going, though. It's just kind of baffling how inefficient and bad, honestly, Jacobs has been through 2 weeks. Not all his fault, like you said, but I'm still waiting to see all-pro Josh Jacobs that we saw last year.
You know, that felt like a podcast hug, and I appreciate that about you, Frank. I needed that podcast hug. A lot of people need a hug after watching overtime in the NFL. Seattle and the Lions. Let me just quickly rant on this. I know we have the actual game to cover, but everybody talks about overtime constantly in the NFL being a problem. Overtime in the NFL is a delight. It's a treasure. It never needed to be fixed in the first place, and I have no problem with sudden death. So I have to remind everyone, as somebody that was sitting up here watching double overtime from Colorado State, and just realizing that game could have gone to 2-point conversions back and forth. My God, no. Don't tell me the college system is better. The NFL system overtime is just fine. Play a little damn defense. Okay, now that I've been the old man.
You're right, Fitz. It's not too much to ask a defense to get a stop. Like, oh my God, Josh Allen never touched the ball in that playoff game. What do I care? Like, get a stop, and he would have.
Also, all you do by ensuring a possession, so let's play this out. In an AFC championship game, Josh Allen gets a possession, then Patrick Mahomes gets a possession. They both score touchdowns. Now it's sudden death. Now people aren't going to be pissed off like that.
It's still not equal. If you want to play the equal game, we could be going until Tuesday. You are completely correct about this. So check mark for you.
Thank you so much. Any thoughts, though, on the, we get a great game between Seattle and the Lions. It was one of the best games of the day.
Yeah.
A lot of dynamic scoring, a lot of big plays. It was a fun one to watch, and Seattle gets an important, I think, bounce back from Geno in this.
Yeah, quick victory lap. We have a group text, me, you, our producer, Stone, and right before kickoff, I said, just for the record, Seattle money line today. You just felt it. I felt that this team was going to come back, bounce back strong. I'm a believer in Geno, but I can't say I wasn't a little nervous. Like, he looked bad in week 1. You're like, did the balloon pop? Like, is it midnight? Is he done? Is this just going to wait? No, Geno looked great today. He played really, really well. It made all the throws he had to make when he had to make them. Seattle really competed hard. Got the big pick 6 in the fourth quarter. Really good game for them. They needed to go in and win this game. And on the other side, look, and I think Dan Wetzel, our colleague, wrote about this. Basically, it's the same old Lions. Like, they didn't handle prosperity very well in this game. You got extra rest. You're 1-0. You're coming home. Everybody's excited. And you lose to a Seattle team that was housed by the Rams at home in week 1. Like, that ain't great for the Lions. If you're a Lions fan, you are worried about, like, oh, here we go again. This team's a lot better than that. They'll be fine. I just thought this meant more for the Seahawks. It meant more for Geno. Meant more for Seattle. Big win for them to not go to 0-2.
I mean, you say they're going to be fine, and I'm sure they will be, but now we have 2 straight weeks of just right down to the wire, like, nail biters. This team could be 2-0. They could be 0-2. Like, it's just, I realize that they sit sort of in the middle of all of that, but if this is the way the season's going to go, Detroit fans are going to lose their minds throughout the course of the year, because this is the sort of game I honestly thought Detroit had a chance to go out and make a statement. As much as they were yapping all week with the ski masks and all this stuff, and as much hype as they got after the week 1 win against the Chiefs, I really thought it was an opportunity to make a statement. Instead, Seattle made the statement. So I don't know, man. Like, I don't feel great about the Lions finding a way to lose that game particularly. Just like I don't feel great. Like, I don't know what to make of Indianapolis Houston, right? Like, this is a game where gets us to our hottest take of the day. I was watching in the first half, looking at this and just wondering, like, is it okay to say at this point that Houston might have selected the wrong quarterback in this draft? Like, you and I said last week that Shane Steichen is a perfect fit, obviously, for the Colts. I love for Anthony Richardson. I love what they're doing there. But I was watching the first half of this game before Anthony Richardson goes out with a concussion thinking, damn, like, there's no question right now. Anthony Richardson looks more capable today than his counterpart. And this is going to happen twice a year for the next 10 years. As long as CJ Stroud's there and Anthony Richardson's there, like division rivals, this is going to be a question that never goes away.
Yeah, and you might be right. I don't like to make lazy comparisons, and this one is so obvious, but I watch Anthony Richardson and I'm like, did Cam get in a time machine? Did Cam Newton go back to when he was 23 years old? Because he's the same guy, the running and just how big he is with his cannon arm, and both touchdown runs were beautiful. The problem is he has this enormous upside, but like Cam, who was basically done at 30, Richardson's been knocked out of 2 straight games now. The first time it was that serious. I think they were being very cautious. This time it's a concussion. And as long as you play this style, you're going to take more hits than CJ Stroud will or any other quarterback. That's a concern with Richardson. But you just watch him play. And we're only, not even 2 games in because he didn't make it through the second game here. But you just watch him and you're like, this kid has got so much skill. It's just through the roof. The Texans played it safe with CJ Stroud, who actually ended up with a good stat line. He made some plays, found Nico Collins a lot. I genuinely like CJ Stroud as a quarterback going forward. But when you watch these 2 guys play, you're like, how on earth did the Texans pass on Anthony Richardson? I get he's raw, the college stats he needed, but you just look at the physical talent and you're like, man, you pair him with the right coach, Shane Steichen, this kid might be special. Oh man, he looks good. It's so lazy because they're same build and all that, the same kind of style, but he reminds me so much of Cam Newton. It's like deja vu.
Yeah, and CJ Stroud, like he looks fine. And I believe he's going to be a good quarterback. I really like CJ. It's just sometimes you see something and it just has so much it factor. Like there's an energy to watching Anthony Richardson play that just you can feel it from the team. Also, though, I have to give them a little bit of credit because Gardner Minshew came in and played really well in his absence, right? Like, and that also speaks to a smart organization that turns around and says, "Hey, let's at least get a quarterback in here that's had some success that we can lead." Like, I thought the mustache man was again reminded us that it feels like every year he comes in when he needs to come in. Every year he plays just well enough that we say, "Man, why doesn't he have a permanent starting job somewhere?" And then every year he just goes right back like the Homer Simpson gif of going back into the bushes. That's what he does. He's like, I'm done here and seen. Like that's what happens all the time. But it worked for Indianapolis, and Indianapolis gets they get a big win. This is a Colts team that was supposed to suck. They don't suck. Like no matter how we want to compartmentalize this, the Colts don't suck.
Yeah, and they get Jonathan Taylor back maybe week 5, right? Like I don't know where that thing's going, but it's there. It's on the horizon. It's just the big thing here is just Richardson and his health. Is he able to play next game? Can he get through the next game? It is troubling that we're 2 games into his career and he's been knocked out of games twice.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. It's also troubling to watch the Chiefs' offense and try and figure out what the hell they're doing. Like, make it make sense, Frank, because I'm watching the Chiefs and I just keep thinking, well, the Chiefs find a way to win and that's fine. But like nothing this year looks easy. It looks like it is taking the will of the gods for Patrick Mahomes to get anything done, for any offense to come out there. Like Jacksonville had a nice defensive game plan, but for the second straight week, we're looking at the Chiefs. And I'm like, I don't know. I got the Bills making it look easy. I got 2 straight weeks that the Dolphins have made it easy. I've got an instance here where the Chiefs, who I still think can be the cream of the crop, it just nothing looks natural right now.
Yeah, it was a strange struggle for them on offense. And, I think they expected maybe Travis Kelce to be Travis Kelce right away. And he got there, he got the touchdown, made a couple plays, but it didn't look like Travis Kelce, which is perfectly reasonable. He's less than 2 weeks removed from that injury. So, but maybe Mr. Positivity around here, I'm going to spin this in a positive way. The Chiefs defense looks good. And I wrote about this for winners and losers that basically after week 1, and rightfully so, nobody talked about the Chiefs defense because they lost a game and whatnot. That Chiefs defense against a pretty good Lions offense gave up 14 points. Obviously, the pick 6 was added on there. They look good without Chris Jones. I remember watching a game when it looked like the Chiefs were going to win and being like, man, the Chiefs defense without Chris Jones, this is pretty good. Chris Jones comes back. They don't allow the Jaguars into the end zone. And this is not going to be a bad Jaguars offense. Trevor Lawrence was a little off today. I hate that that's still a part of his game, that he has these games where he just looks a little shaky, missed throws. He missed one to Zay that was as wide open as an NFL throw could be in the end zone.
Right.
But I give a lot of credit to this Chiefs defense. Fitz, we know the Chiefs offense is going to be good. We know that, right? Like, we're not worried about that. I'm not anyway. They're going to be good. what if this Chiefs defense is for real? What if this Chiefs defense is legit top 10? They've given up, I think it's 23 points in 2 games to 2 good offenses. Man, that's a problem for the rest of the NFL if this is a top 10 defense.
Yeah, and Chris Jones, I mean, while he has spent the last few days rolling around in his Scrooge McDuck dollars on the bed, like I don't blame him for that. Like he looked fresh, he looked alive. Like we hear so much about needing to get in football shape, right? And then Chris Jones just came in and was explosive and disruptive from the outset. Like, I think it's kind of funny. I wonder if the same Chiefs fans that were in your Menchies last week being like, we don't even need him, he wouldn't have made a difference, would now like to acknowledge the fact that he made a massive damn difference in this game. Like, the number of times it felt like he was in the backfield just shaking howdy with Trevor Lawrence before Trevor Lawrence even knew what was going on. Chris Jones being back just energized that defensive line.
Yeah, he looked really good. I mean, he's one of the 10 best defensive players in the game. Maybe I'm shorting him there, right? Maybe he's top 5. Like, this Chiefs defense is something to watch. We keep an eye, because if the Chiefs have a defense all of a sudden, who's going to stop them? Because the offense is going to be just fine. We all know.
Frank, don't do this to me, Frank. Don't do this. Like right now, I'm on root beer and donuts. If the Chiefs suddenly have a defense to go with their offense,
goodness,
I'm going to be wildly sloshed every night when we get to this show. It's just going to be like, I'm sorry, I had a bunch of trash can punch, and now I'm just trying to make this show happen. Like, that's what's going to happen if the Chiefs end up putting all of it together. I think Giants fans were sloshed by halftime. So I got this buddy. I'm going to shout out to my buddy Devin, right? Devin, biggest Giants fan I know. All summer, Devin has been in the group chat just about how the Giants are going to win the division. Everybody's sleeping on the Giants going to go. So Devin even put, we put a nice little group chat bet on which one of our teams would finish with the best record, because Devin was insistent, and it's a nice steak dinner on this thing. And there are Eagles fans in this group chat. There are Cowboys fans, but
with Eagles fans,
yeah, he's got the money out with everybody. So my guy Devi, at halftime, I get a text. The whole group gets a text, and Devin says, all right, that's it, I'm done, let's collapse for Caleb, I'm out on this whole thing. Like, this game, for the second straight week, Arizona is just plucky enough to make us think they're not trying to tank, and they take it to a division. Like, second straight week, we're sitting here saying, wow, are the Cardinals actually pretty good? To the Giants' credit, they were getting demolished. They come back. They get a huge win. But Giants fans that are telling you right now that they were confident the whole time are flat out lying through their teeth, man, because that was a weird game to watch for New York.
It was absolutely weird. Stafford's playing well. McVay, I think, is really in his bag right now, doing a great job. Yeah, they lost this game. The 49ers are just a much, much better team. It's pretty impressive how the 49ers were really, or the Rams were really in this game for most of it.
Yeah, by the way, who's the dumbass who kept Tutu Atwell on his bench in fantasy football? That's me. Just for everybody keeping track at home, that's me. I'm telling you, I'm the cursed this year. Like, this is a cursed year for me. Brock Purdy, we'll give a little Purdy love here, because I think every week is the continual evaluation of Brock Purdy, but he continues to look comfortable in this offense. And San Francisco continues to look like a complete team, right? Like, if you're a 49ers fan right now, you're huffing and puffing and blowing the house down, because you got to feel great about where the 49ers are. Much like Cowboys fans right now, I think right now the two best teams in the NFC, I think it's pretty easy to say, look like they're Dallas in San Francisco. No offense to Eagles fans, who I'm sure want some love in that conversation. But Dallas, I'm not surprised that they turn around and beat the Jets. Like, the Jets just aren't going to be who the Jets were going to be. But Zach Wilson melting down in the fourth quarter, 3 fourth-quarter interceptions. Like, it just shows you the Jets are up against something this year they're not going to be able to handle, which is, as great as Garrett Wilson is, their quarterback is not going to be able to throw them out of these games.
Yeah, I heard a few times this week, the vapors of the Monday night win, which was an awesome game, by the way. Oh, the Jets aren't going to be bad. The Jets are going to be able to get through this. And then you watch them, and they're like, no, they can't. Like, Zach Wilson is so far back in his development that the Jets coaches can't tell him, hey, you see that number 17 wearing the same jersey as you? Just find him and throw him the ball. Garrett Wilson had a great catch. He breaks that thing right up the middle, 62 yards, I think, for the touchdown. He's an incredible player. That was his only catch for the first 3 quarters. I think he caught one more in the fourth quarter when the game was done. I get that playing NFL quarterback is hard. I get that they're playing a great, great defense. Trevante's awesome quarter. All this stuff. I get it. But if you can't tell your quarterback, kid, we're going to throw to goal Garrett Wilson 10 times this game, we're going to try to complete at least 6 or 7 of those, and he's going to make some things happen. If you can't even function at that level on offense, you're screwed. Like, this is going to be a long season for the Jets. They're going to win some games because the defense is awesome. Brees Hall's really good. Garrett Wilson's really good. They'll figure out a way to win some games like they did against the Bills week 1. But most of it's going to look like this, where another season is going to go by, Fitz. So we're saying over and over while we watch Jets games, what would this team look like with just a decent quarterback? Just a decent quarterback. And Zach Wilson ain't it yet. We'll see. Who knows? I mean, a long season, but it just flummoxed me. You can't even get the ball to Garrett Wilson, really? Like, that's where we are as an offense. This isn't going to be pretty for them.
How would you power rank the AFC East right now? Like the 1 through 4 power rank of that? Because like, I mean, I have Miami 1 and Buffalo 2. Would you agree with that?
Probably flip those, but okay, that's fine.
I mean, yeah, but where do we go with 3 and 4 as they stand right now? Because I came into the year saying that New England was the worst team in their division, and like right now, I don't know neutral field that. I don't know that I could bank on Zach Wilson. I think I would go Miami, Buffalo, New England, and then the Jets. And I feel like Jets fans are going to be in my mentions about that, but I don't believe.
I get it. I mean, yeah, if they're playing on a neutral field tomorrow, I just feel like Belichick would force Zach Wilson to throw 4 picks. Like he would just scheme up some stuff to just confuse the heck out of him, and it would be one of those games, and the Patriots would win like 17-14. Like it's just, yeah, it's just it was supposed to be such a good division too, and the whole Aaron Rodgers injury just took the air out of that balloon, man. It's the Jets are on so many primetime games coming up too. We're gonna have to the late games, they ended up being really interesting, but the matchups just suck because you're like, well, okay, yeah, the Jets were supposed to be good, and now they're not, but we're going to get stuck with them on these national TV windows week after week after week.
Which is also a reminder why, even though we'll do it next summer, spending all this time worrying about what your strength of schedule looks like is just the dumbest exercise in all the world. Because like last year it was the AFC West is going to be unstoppable, and this year it's the AFC East is going to be unstoppable, and it's like maybe. I mean, it's amazing. The football gods always win. Monday Night Football got a doubleheader real quick here before we get out of here. Any leaning on? We got New Orleans and Carolina, Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Is there one thing in either of those games that you're genuinely like looking for, excited for Monday Night Football?
I want to watch Bryce. I mean, I'm interested to see Bryce Young. I think that every game from him is going to be interesting. Just to see his development. I do think the Saints are just a much, much better team there. And where's Pittsburgh's season going? Like 0-2 is so much different than 1-1, as we talked about with a lot of these teams today. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers bounce back, but they got some massive injuries now. Deontay Johnson, Cameron Hayward. If the Browns come out of this 2-0, wins over the Bengals at the Steelers, that'd be pretty impressive. It is a really, really big game for both teams. Just kind of set the path. What are you going to be this year? Are you going to be a contender? Because if you are, the Steelers, you need to win. And if the Browns win, it's like, maybe we haven't really taken the Browns seriously enough, especially with the Bengals issues.
I wonder what the offenses in Cleveland and Pittsburgh are going to look like, right? Because Deshaun Watson wasn't good enough week 1 at all. They get the win. We know Nick Chubb's going to be a delight. Is Deshaun Watson going to step up this week and play better? If not, do the Browns need to start looking around and try to figure out what they're going to do with their quarterback situation long-term? Because I think he needs to get a lot better than he was. But then the flip side of it is we love the Steelers offense. The Steelers offense in the preseason, now they look, human they look awful against San Francisco.
They're going to be playing another keyword. Yeah. Let's see what they look like against a mortal defense.
This Browns defense is a good defense. So let's see. Although, Pittsburgh then on Sunday night next week goes to Vegas, where, I don't think anything's an easier get-right game for a quarterback than playing against the Raiders. Now I just need
great
donuts.
For Russ in week 1. Hey, keep the hope, man. Come on.
You know what?
You expected to lose to the Bills today. You're fine.
I did.
You're fine.
I did. I'm fine. I'm fine. It's fine. I won't be in my feelings next week at all. Okay. That's what to look for on Monday night. In the meantime, Charles McDonald will be back Tuesday with the exempt list. You want to check that out. I'm back Wednesday with Charles Robinson and Jory Epstein for inside coverage. I'm Jason Fitz. You can follow me on Twitter at Jason Fitz. He's Frank Schwab. Follow him on Twitter at Yahoo Schwab. Of course, follow Stone. Stone is doing all the real work on this. At SJ Rochelle is our producer behind the glass. Be sure you get out there and follow him. Leave us a 5-star review. Rate, subscribe. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell everybody to hang out with us on all of the shows across the podcast network. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us, to hang out with us, and to tell everybody about us. We'll see you next Sunday when I'm going to be in the best mood ever after the Raiders play on Sunday night.